Good weekend, everybody. Kioseth here with another hard drive champion review of League of Legends. Today we'll be looking at Karthus, another champion that is on the weekly rotation, who actually is a pretty epic character in my opinion. He usually goes for, on the shop, 6,300 IP points, so he is definitely an expensive champion for very good reason. Now, Karthus is a ranged mage who specializes greatly in his abilities. Obviously, health and attack damage are going to be pretty low, but when it comes to his spells, as we'll go into in just a second, he really is top notch. Now, I've seen a lot of people complaining in the game so far that this character is completely overpowered, and when you're fighting against him, there's no chance of winning, which, if you're playing against a character who knows what they're doing, yeah, this champion can be pretty tough. However, to really get good at Karthus, it takes a lot of time and practice, and that player playing him that's owning you like crazy is probably just a good player. It's not necessarily the character or the champion itself. So let's get into the meat of what makes Karthus such a good player. It really revolves all around his abilities. He has very strong abilities that when used in the right combination are devastating. His first option is Lay Waste. This is basically a delayed mine that you lay on the ground wherever your cursor is, and after half a second it explodes, dealing AoE damage to everyone around it. As far as the mana to damage ratio, it is a very good trade. At level 1 you deal about 60 damage and it only costs 20 mana. An added bonus to this mine is that if it only attacks one target, like you're soloing a champion and he's the only one around, it does twice the amount of damage. So it's a very good AoE mine and also a single target mine, especially for the amount of mana that you'll be using for it. So I highly recommend it in all instances. Moving on to his second spell, Wall of Pain, this is more of a PvP styled ability. Basically, you have your choice to lay down a purple force field wall anywhere within a large range, and then enemy minions or champions that run through it will get a large physical and mana armor reduction, as well as a movement speed reduction of up to 40% at max rank. This is a great spell and has high utility. You can either use it when trying to track down that last champion with a little bit of health with your teammates, slowing him down and making him a little bit more squishy, or you can use it to escape a battle. If you throw it up behind you when you're running away, it's basically giving you a 40% movement increase against your enemies. So you have that couple extra seconds to run away, heal, teleport, get some allies on your side to protect you. Regardless, you can use it in basically every situation. Now thirdly, we have my favorite spell for Karthus, which is Defile. Defile is a buff, basically, and has a passive and an active state for which you can like turn it on, turn it off, yada yada. Although there is a 0.5 second cooldown in between the two, so you can't kind of spam it, turning it on and off instantaneously. In its passive state, it acts as a mana regeneration buff. Every time you get a killing blow, you get mana back, which is great if you're fighting against minions in the beginning, especially paired with Lay Waste. You can do a lot of damage while getting mana back. It's a nice combo. But the strength of this skill really lies in its active state. While active, Defile places a circle around your character, and anyone within that circle takes a lot of AoE damage every second. The only hindrance to this is that Defile uses a lot of mana. It drains mana on a per second ratio, and it actually drains more mana than it deals in damage to single targets. So this is not something you want to use, if at all possible, against single target enemies. Its best utility is definitely going to be when you're fighting a large group of minions per se, or a lot of champions, like a big battle in the home base, one of those. But when fighting against multiple enemies, the damage you can do is ridiculous. Lastly, we have Karthus's endgame move, or hero move, whatever it's called, Requiem. Now, Requiem is amazing in my opinion. It's almost cheap. It's so cheap, but it's great. It has a long cooldown, so you can't use it constantly, but Requiem, what Requiem does is once you hit it, you have a 3-second cast, but once you cast that spell, it does damage to every single champion on the map, regardless of distance away from you, which is ridiculous. I use this all the time. I use it as much as I possibly can. Even if all the champions are dead on the map, I just use it because I think it is the bee's knees. It is awesome. And the damage that you do is pretty substantial. We actually had, in the last battle that I did, which I'll show some clips of, the enemy Karthus would use it every once in a while, and we had an AFK player who was just level 1 sitting in the base, it would kill them, basically in one shot. And so that player got killed 17 times throughout the match, and it was solely because of being one-shot by the enemy's Requiem. So don't put it aside like, oh, it's a tiny little damage thing that does no damage. No, especially against spellcasters with low health, this is a very, very powerful spell, especially if you spec into your ability power. Very good combo. Alright, and finally we have Karthus's passive ability. And this ability is also quite ridiculous, especially considering his other moves. What his passive does is basically, well, the little part of it is that when you're dead, you spend less time being dead. So at level 18, after being killed a couple times, I only had a respawn rate of about 40 seconds compared to most people who would have like a minute and a half. So you spend half the time dead. That's a really nice feature. However, on top of that, when Karthus dies, you basically stay alive for 8 seconds and can cast any of your spells for free. No mana cost on it. And that is just absolutely ridiculous when you think about the abilities that Karthus has. And I'll actually show some clips of this, but once you die, you want to instantly pop Defile. You want to put that into active. When you die, whether you had it active or not, it turns passive. So the first thing you want to do is quickly hit Defile, turn that on so everything around you is taking damage. And then I like to cast Requiem if it's up, so that any champions on the field are also going to be damaged. Because possibly if you're attacking someone and they got the last kill and killed you, but they're low on health, you can still beat them. And then after that, you're still going to have about 4 seconds, which you can get out about 3 lay wastes down. So pop those around minions or champions. Those can do a lot of damage, and they're really quick cooldowns of about a second, so you can get those out really, really fast. Now, if you did die in a large battle and you still have other champions trying to survive, a nice thing that you could do for your allies is to lay down a wall of pain and get as many champions running through that as possible. Because yes, it reduces their movement speed, which may not matter as much, but it reduces their defense basically, and so your allies have a greater chance of killing them. So you can be a nice guy and try and help your allies, or you can just try and go for that kill steal and throw mines everywhere, Requiem people to death. It's awesome. And I know quite a few times that once people would kill me, I would still be able to get them down with a wall of pain, a couple of lay wastes, and a Requiem. It's a great combo, and I guarantee you will fall in love with this character. Alright, so now you're thinking, Kioseth, with Karthus having so many great moves, what should I get first? Well, I'll first tell you to go to the doctor to check out that voice, something sounds wrong, and then I'll tell you my strategy. Now, I am not a PvP player. I'm trying to get better at it, but I'm not the best, and so I usually stick back and work on towers and really try and break paths for the rest of my team, because usually they're better at PvP than I ever will be. So I like to spec first in the lay waste. This will give me the most range to stay away from people while doing damage, because Defile you really have to get up close and personal. And then I will upgrade that as fast as possible, get Defile when I can and upgrade that secondly, and then get Requiem and make sure that that's maxed out at all times just because of how awesome it is. And then I'll get Wall of Pain near the end once I really don't have anything else I can upgrade. Simply because, again, I'm not a PvP player. If you really like PvP or you're really good at it, I would suggest getting Wall of Pain really quickly, and also probably maxing Defile first, just because those are a lot better for PvP fighting, especially when you die. Requiem does, my apologies, Defile does a lot more damage when you're dead and just standing there. People are like, yeah, I killed him, because usually then you end up killing them with it. And then when it comes to items, I have quite a few suggestions, but again, I'm going to talk about me mostly. I like to spec into attack power, or ability power, simply because I want to stay back from battles as much as possible, but be able to give as much damage output also. So by making my abilities do tons and tons of damage, I can stand back and lay mines over and over and over like crazy, dealing 300 plus damage and really benefiting the group when it comes to assaulting a base. I have seen a lot of strategies with enemy Karthuses going into more of a defensive stance, so they get into a little bit of health, spell penetration, and spell defense rating so that they're more resilient, which is a great, I think, a great strategy if you're playing on a 3-3 map where you're going to be doing a lot more solo battling. But on a 5-5, you're really going to be a background spellcaster, and so getting a little bit of health or lifesteal might be beneficial to keep yourself a little bit more resilient, but I would definitely suggest more just shooting for ability power and mana as much as possible. All in all, Karthus is amazing player. Like, I'm really bad at grammar. I'm gonna go read a dictionary, but play Karthus. You have this week to experiment with him, and he's super expensive once he's gone, so take advantage of this opportunity, and you'll probably fall in love with him. So I'm sorry that then you won't be able to afford him because all of you are poor, but you at least know what rich feels like. So enjoy him, have a great day, and as always, I am Kioseth with Hard Drive Gaming, and have fun playing, you little kilobytes. Bye!